Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. Now, I will be showing you two different teams. I think one is more, I wouldn't say free-to-play, I would say it's less pay-to-win because you're going to be needing certain espers, but the other team is going to be the strictly pay-to-win team, which is whatever that I'm using right now. I know I'm only getting EX Plus and it's not EX Plus Plus, and that's because we need the upgrades, the advanced strategies in order to acquire EX Plus Plus very comfortably. You can clearly see that there is a huge disparity between your first team and your second team. So the way that your points are calculated is, even though you have two different teams, both scores from either team will be added up together and your final scoring will be based on the aggregated score. So for my first team, it's kind of easy for me to get about 27 million. But for my second team, that's where I struggle to get, something comparable, which is, I think I'm getting about maybe like 4 million or so on my second team, which is very miserable considering the espers that I'm using right here. So I'm going to show you the pay-to-win team first, and then I'll show you the free-to-play team. So this is the pay-to-win team. I'll be using Yuhime, I'll be using Javid, I'll be using R6 Zora here. The R6 Clara is not super important. I think maybe R2 is where she's at. Or maybe you don't even need maybe even the R0 Clara works as well. And Sienna R6 is going to help out a little bit, just for the 2-turn stun that might be decent. But I think for the most part, it's just the R6 Zora that is very important for this fight. Now, let me quickly go through all of their stats. So Yuhime, just give her a typical offensive kit. You do not want her to have Avatar because when she counterattacks, she's going to lose all of her stacks. I don't think it's really that important. I think giving her just, more raw stats is going to be better. And Javid, just give him, I don't know, I tend to want to give him like the fastest DPS set I have. That's why I'm giving him the wind set. And on top of that, of course, the Avatar, so that whenever he counterattacks, he can splash a little bit, especially when he's at R2. But mine is currently at R0. And now Zora, very importantly, she is better off with the Astral set. But I don't have any more Astral sets. So I'm going to be using the wall set on her with the Avatar. Now she needs to counterattack, that is for sure, because she counterattacks with an AoE attack that would apply 10 stacks of Verdict on all the enemies. But of course, the main reason why she is so important here is because of her R6, which is whenever allies attack, Zora has a 15% chance of assisting with Keenage, which is massive. And then of course, we have Clara for the healing. Now we will need to have a healer for this setup because we do not want to die, because the moment we die, the boss will start attacking other teams. So we need to stay alive. So Clara or any other healer basically, like Asenath is not bad as well. And finally, we have Sienna here for the 3 turns of speed up, and of course the stuns and the AP reductions on her third skill and her second skill, which is like very useful for us. Okay, so let's take a look at how this team works. Ideally, we want to have a speed down. I think a speed up itself is probably not enough. I think a speed down on the boss is more urgent because we are going to speed down 5 different enemies, including all the 4 adds, which will eat into our turn count. So a speed down is definitely very important, but I haven't found a really good speed down esper just yet, so I'll be keeping an eye on that in just a moment. Okay, so the first thing that you might notice is that why is it that our espers, they are taking forever to attack, right? You see, okay, now after using my Eternal Light, after Galactic Rush, we might have a period of time where we are just sitting around doing nothing, just waiting. Hopefully we can capture it here. Okay, there you go, right? So now there was a little brief period of time where we're not doing anything. And the reason for that is, take a look at turn limit at top, right? How this turn limit works is when one esper or one anything takes a turn in this fight itself. Okay, so be it an ad, be it a boss, be it one of your espers, whenever they take a turn, your other team will also take 1 turn. That includes Astral procs, that includes everything. So that's why it seems like there's a delay, it seems like there's a lag, but that's not really the case. So that's how they're accounting for the turn limit, just to make sure that every single turn being taken is in step with both teams and all that. So if you're having like the Viper itself, right, the Sunken Viper, the espers that you're using over there will also share the same turn limit, and that's how this works. Okay, anyway, talked a little bit too much about that. So the idea here is to just try to kill the enemies as much as possible, but the reason why Zora is so effective here is because she takes a lot of assist attacks, which throws a lot of her first skill, which will effectively increase the Verdict debuff count on the boss, which is what we might need in order to deal more damage. It's not so important that we hit 100 stacks to reduce the level of his ultimate over here, his Thunder Shock effect. It's not super important because this skill honestly don't do a lot of damage. It's not quite the same as the Raging Lion, where you really need to reduce his ultimate attack down to level 0. And it's so important that you do so because his ultimate actually hits really hard. But that's not the case for the Soaring, it seems. So I've actually just completely taken in a level 5 Thunder Shock attack from the boss, and our HPs didn't even drop that much. So yeah, something to take note of. Okay, so the way this team works, you know, just a lot of AoE attacks. Yuhime with a lot of AoE attacks and AoE defense break at the same time. We have Javid, a lot of AoE attacks as well. We have Zora, insane amount of AoE attacks. We have Clara just for the healing. We have Sienna for AoE attacks plus AP downs, stuns, good stuff. Speed up buff, attack up buff, a lot of stuff on her kit as well. Oh, and the AP gain on her first skill. Never forget about that. Yeah, so this is gonna be the pay-to-win team, and I will just speed this up a little bit, show you the stats after this run. Man, I absolutely hate this thing. Like, battle will end once you reach the turn limit. I'm not sure why they have to mention this. It's kind of obvious, and it's frankly quite meaningless aside from me just blocking the screen. Okay, but as you can see, we are about to be clapped, and that's because our first team was not able to hold its ground and therefore it died. In some of my better runs, I actually am able to survive all the way to 150 turns. But I guess it is really just RNG based, and you just keep really repeating this until you feel happy and you get the score that you desire, and that's about it. See, we just ate a level 5 ultimate and our Clara did barely even lost HP at all. So it's not super important, I think. Wait, hold on. We have a debuff on ourselves. What is that, right? What is that? Defense down. I see. So that means that the Raging Lion's debuff actually extends to all enemies because he uses his ultimate attack over here, right? So I believe his ultimate attack maybe at stacks. I'm not super sure just yet, but that's my only explanation for having so many stacks of defense down on our second team. Okay, so let's take a look at the damage spread. So first team, Mateo obviously doing a lot, Yunchuan doing a lot, Louis is also doing pretty decent. In terms of Soaring Goat, Zora is doing the bulk of the DPS, and that's why this is the pay-to-win team. So Zora with her R6 is very strong. Now Javi is doing pretty okay, Yuhime is also doing alright. Sienna is surprisingly doing so much damage. I'm not super sure why that's the case. But yeah, so this is the pay-to-win team. Obviously, there's going to be a better team out there. Players are going to come up with much better stuff along the way. So this is just like, I don't know, one day later or something like that. Anyway, let me show you the more free-to-play team. Now, I know it looked a little bit different. That's because I've found a much better free-to-play comp, I think. So anyway, I'm just going to drop a couple of these spells because they're not going to be that necessary. And I'm going to input some more free-to-play spells. So number one, we have Tangshan here. Tangshan is actually pretty damn good. And we also have Camille. Camille, especially at R6. So right now, when currently she's at R4, but I can push her to R5. But anyway, if she's prior to R6, she is probably not going to be like the best pick. But when she's at R6, and maybe if you give her the Ocean set, for example, she's going to throw a lot of AoE attacks. So highly underrated, and I kind of wanted to make this video a little bit later, but I just wanted to put her under your radar for the time being. And now, contrary to the Void Messenger, we can actually use Pritzker over here because the ads do not push the AP of the current Soaring Goat boss. It's not quite the same as the Void Messenger. So Pritzker is actually pretty decent in this content. And now, I want to show you the power of Tangshan. He's not going to perform as good as he needs to because he's currently still at R5, he's not at R6, but then again, this is going to be like the more free-to-play comp after all. So you can either use Javid or you can use Tangshan. Both the attack lead still stays, but let's check out their stats before we move on with this video itself. Okay, so Tangshan has just a typical 100% crit rate DPS kit. I think the Avatar is going to be a lot, the Avatar is 100% going to be a lot stronger for him, but just take note that Tangshan is not a judge Esper, and this is very unfortunate. I feel like he would have made a really good judge Esper, but Camille is a judge Esper, same for Javid as well. So that means that all of her AoE attacks will actually land 10 debuffs on the boss, the 10 verdict debuff. Anyway, let's take a look at how this run plays out and how effective this team is. Now the thing is, for your first team, right, I'm just segueing a little bit, not segue, I'm just like talking about the first boss a little bit. It is not important for you to have Mateo right now if you can comfortably acquire 25 million. It is still possible without Mateo if you have fully upgraded your first tree in the first advanced strategies, right? Anyway, the reason why I say that, yeah, Pritzker, I've already talked about why he's so good, but just to reiterate, we can stun these ads, and even if they take a turn and get out the stun, they are not going to push the AP of the Soaring Goat, so it's perfectly fine. We can use Pritzker to hard control them and just land some AoE attacks, because his cooldown is also relatively short, so that allows him to cast his third skill like very often. And for Tangshan, his DPS output is just insane. He just did 210k on his third skill, and you'll see that his first skill actually hits like a massive truck, like crazy insane levels of DPS. And I mean, he also carries the AoE defense break, which is not very consistent, but it still helps a little bit. Every once in a while, when you get the right RNG, then yeah, your team is gonna perform much better. So Tangshan's first skill, I think that was his first skill. He did like 116,000 I might be wrong, maybe he's using second skill. Actually, I can't really recall, but I think for Tang Xuan, the biggest upgrade for him is probably going to be R2 for this fight, because you have an additional RNG factor of 20% chance to proc and pursuit on his first skill. I mean, all of his skills can then proc pursuit with his first skill. Very similar to how Tang Yun works, but it's only 20%. Insane DPS, dude, look at that. Like when he follows up with his pursuit attacks, he actually does a tremendous amount of DPS. So Tang Xuan is, and I mean, like, just take note that we don't have an attack up buff as well. So Tang Xuan is definitely, like I said before, right, one of the biggest DPS experts in this game right now, especially for dealing with AoE combat. So I think he's probably going to be the replacement esper to Zora. So Zora has the attack lead as well, I think 40%, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it works here. And she also has like the multiple AoE attacks. Tang Xuan carries that as well, even though his first skill does not really AoE in the same way that Zora does. Insane DPS, dude. Insane DPS, just like 360k, just like that. I don't think I've actually seen him use his second skill just yet. So that could be smart AI. So one thing to take note of about Javid is that his AI is really dumb. Like if you're using him in the Void Messenger, right, and if you are left with one single enemy, Javid will still use his second skill just to attack the enemy, which is completely bonkers. But it would have been much wiser for Javid to just use his first skill when there is only one enemy left, instead of using his second skill, so that we can use his second skill in the second wave, for example. But yeah, Tang Xuan, amazing powerhouse. He's like super freaking strong. So definitely try to get the Avatar set for Tang Xuan, and I think he's going to perform really well for you. But anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and skip all the way to the end, because I don't think you guys need to rewatch this whole thing again. And then we will get to the score itself. Oh right, I forgot to mention, Pritzker is also really useful here, not just for his stuns, but his AoE slows as well. So the AoE slow on the boss and on the ads, because of Pritzker, is very, very effective, and I think that might actually put him above Sienna in this case, I think. Not super sure just yet. Okay, this was probably down to download that my first team just kept failing, like it kept dying halfway. But let's take a look at our DPS spread on the second team. So Javi is doing a lot. Oh my god, Tang Xuan is not dealing as much as I thought. What? Okay, but Camille dealing not so much damage. I think that's mostly because she is not at R6 just yet. So when she's at R6, her DPS output is definitely going to evolve a lot. And I'm quite surprised that Pritzker is doing as much as he is doing right now. Like, he is doing even more damage than Camille, which is insane. Okay, but I gotta admit, Tang Xuan is not performing as well as I thought he should, because I feel like his DPS output is really strong. I think the main thing for him is to just give him more speed. I think I currently have way too little speed. It could make a lot more sense to run him with the speed piece on the 6th slot of his equipment. But yeah, anyway, this is just a more free-to-play comp. Feel free to shift this around depending on what kind of espers you have. Like I said, there is many different espers that you can use. You can also use Longmian for the AoE speed down. It's also gonna work. You can also freeze the enemies with his 3rd skill, and you can also AP reduce with his 2nd skill. It's gonna work as well. But yeah, I guess that's it for this video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree with anything that I have showcased today? Do you feel like there is a better strategy that I do not yet know of? And if so, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But I hope you enjoyed today's content. If you did, don't forget to thumbs up. It really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.